Excellent. Okay. Hopefully everyone can see this. Again, the role of the person at the end of the program is supposed to give you something simple to do. And that is my job today. So I have a presentation for you that I am calling Backyard the Kitchen Sinks. There's a whole lot of information that I'm going to squeeze into a small amount of space. So pay attention. All right. That's what the whole iceberg here is about. Okay, you're going to get the tip of the iceberg of a whole lot of stuff. Now, this is me, just so you can see what I look like. I have my camera off, I think. I don't know. Now, I'm going to take you back about some time in the past, about 20 years. No, 20 about 20 years to get this presentation started. Here we go. Nope, that's the wrong picture. That's 30 years. Let's try 20 years. There we go. That's better. I've been around sustainable agriculture for a long time. I was the aquaculture extension specialist for the University of Arizona. I was the expert on fish for the University of Arizona back in 1990. I had hair and everything else, so it worked. It worked out well. And my job to train everyone in Arizona on how to grow fish. Back then, we were trying to do something what we call low input agriculture. We're trying to show farmers how to use less electricity, less insecticide, less water. Back then, they called it low input agriculture. Today, they will call it sustainable agriculture. Nothing new under the sun. Now, just recently, earlier this week, last week, I had a really great opportunity to talk to the West Africa chapter of the World Aquaculture Society. Now, I'm a member of the American chapter, but the West Africa chapter asked me to do a talk for them, and I'm pleased to have a few of them online. So, welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for coming. Um, and the issue was COVID. Around the world, we're all having the same issue, let alone the deadliness of the disease. But what it is doing, this is the area we're talking about the same population as the United States. But what this little ball of dirty grease, which is this the virus, is doing to our supply chains. It is taking them apart. Everyone is having the same basic problem, getting from the source of agriculture to the customer. So the issue is how can we solve it, and how do we solve it in my area, which is called aquaponics. Now, here is a supply chain. This is what it looks like. Now, and any one of these things can break down. Somebody supplying the raw materials, feeds, broodstock, hatchery, nursery, grow out, processing, adding value. Any of these things break down, and it makes it difficult to get the food from the source and to the end customer, which is you and I, and we're also the source if we are farmers. So, but we have this incredible opportunity that occurred by pure serendipity. When this was done 5 years ago, we had no idea that there was going to be a pandemic that would make it hard to get food from point A to point B. But inside of the Phoenix General Plan, that was put in there, and Roseanne and everyone else has taken this and done incredible things with it. Thank you so very, very much. Now, recently, because people have realized that it's hard to get food in some locations, maybe I can grow food in my backyard. Someone asked about that in a question a few minutes ago, I think. And the victory garden is something that people talk about a lot. But a victory garden is not exactly what people think it is. I know people think of a garden, they think of a small plot in the backyard where they're growing a tomato. No, back in World War II, people were actually using, the purpose was to grow all the vegetables needed by a family. And they did 8 million tons in 1945, and they about 800 pounds per family. And they fed 40% of the nation. And these plots were about 1,700 square feet to 2,500 square feet. And people want to do that again, which is great, but most of us don't have that much land. We have about 20 by 20, if we're lucky, in our postage stamps like today, which is about 400 square feet. So the challenge that we have is, again, that's only 24% of the land, like before. So maybe if we're really, really good and we have taken classes at Mesa Community College, Center for Urban Agriculture, where I also teach, and Peter Condon there is the director. Shout out to Peter. Maybe we're really good and we can get squeeze 200 pounds out of that if we're really, really, really good. So the question is today, and this is your challenge, today, can we grow 800 pounds of food in a 20 by 20 space? And I actually believe that we can. And this is how I am personally addressing this issue in my own backyard. And it's through aquaponics. Now, all you people out there, like the great Mark Ryan, who already know what aquaponics is, I don't have to tell you. But for those of you who don't, it is a process where we use fish to produce nutrients, microbes to convert those nutrients to fish, to plant food, and then the plants clean up the water for the fish. So we're producing vegetables and fish simultaneously. That works out well for us. That's the aquaponic process. It's really old. I think that these are the Incans or the Aztecs. Anyway, the Chiampas in Mexico, they were actually using this process centuries ago. Same thing in China and Japan. Many areas of the world use this basic process. They knew nothing about the science we do, but they made it work. Nothing new under the sun. It's like an airplane. People have been trying to get off the ground for hundreds of years. Finally, two guys in North Carolina figured it out from the modern circumstance. And for the modern circumstance today, this guy here on the left, not the guy on the right, that's me. The guy here on the left is Dr. Jim Ricciosi from the University of the Virgin Islands, who figured out how to make it work under a modern context. Oh yeah, when I first met the guy, I didn't believe in aquaponics. I didn't think it would work. I had to come back and see him 12 years later and say, hey, you were right. I don't mind admitting I'm wrong. Okay. In some cases, this aquaponics has even been asked, can this new method help to restore the U.S. aquaculture industry, which is having some problems as part of aquaculture. Oh, by the way, I wrote the article, so I'm proud of it. Anyway, so this is how I do it, but it's not the only way to do it. I look all around Phoenix, and these pools are sitting in everyone's backyard and usually growing mosquitoes instead of food, with the square ones, the rectangular ones. So I figured out a way to turn them all into very productive mini fish and vegetable farms for very little money. This one you see here in front of me is just a 12-foot pool, a 10-foot pool that we converted to grow fish and a whole lot of plants. And you can get, and also the rectangular ones, you can get nearly 400 pounds out of one of these if you know what you're doing. Excuse me, if you know what you're doing. And there are all other kinds, the kinds that have media, the kinds that have, they use these plastic tubes called an NFT. And this is one that uses fans called an IADS system, I do believe. They're all very, very effective and comparatively inexpensive, but not as cheap as they should be. That means you got to grow a lot to make up for it. Oh, and then there are some great people. Like I want to give a shout out, to Ed Mendoza, who's online right now, who did a really great one over on the Gila River Indian community. And we have again Peter Condon, and we teach this subject at Mesa Community College, and the great Mark Ryan with Rival Farms, the first commercial aquaponic grower I ever met, and I still honor his friendship. Thank you for being here, Mark. So, going back to backyards. So in backyards, there's a lot that we can do to grow all this food in a small area. As an example, lettuce everyone knows about. My daughter has seen it. But we can also grow collard greens like this. This is a student I had over at Mesa Community College. And melons. There's 100 different kinds of plants that we can grow. It's not limited to only lettuce. And of course, fish. So this is a tilapia. But then we also have catfish. I know we don't grow catfish that big, although American catfish do get that big. You know that thing that we call river monsters? It's always a catfish. Anyway, we grow them like this, the blue catfish and the channel catfish. The catfish are my favorite fish. So, I forgot about these giant freshwater prawns. We haven't perfected these things yet, but we are working on them. The basket here is what I grew over on the right, but we like from Indonesia, where these things come from. This is what we want to grow. Big as your hand, big as lobsters. And when you get those tails, they're worth $16.99 a pound. This is over in a local fry supermarket near my house. So the source to the customer is the issue. The solution set are the victory gardens. We can reproduce that 800 pounds per victory garden in 400 square feet instead of more than 2,000 square feet if we use modern day magic, including aquaponics. And we are overjoyed that aquaponics is included as part of the Phoenix Food Plan. Thank you, Roseanne. So what we're doing now, we're going from backyards to kitchen sinks. And that concludes my presentation. Now, this is my lovely wife, Angela. I had to make a point to get her in there.
She has some beautiful chart with her.
Thank you. Now, how do I turn this thing off?
I think you already did. You just stop sharing, my friend.
Stop sharing. Oh, there it is. Stop share. There we go. Any questions? I had to run through that very quickly. Hopefully you all understood it. And if you have any questions, I'm pleased to answer them. But we are running late.
There's just some little banter on the side, so you can enjoy that later. But anybody that has questions, please ask them at this time. Mark Roseland asked, how are you disseminating the aquaponics ideas?
Okay. Well, one, I teach aquaponics at Mesa Community College and AGS 166. And that is every semester from, it's at a different time coming up in the fall. It's Peter, is that 6:45 is coming up? Oh, no, 6:15. 6:15 to 8:30, I think, coming up next semester. And then for my own stuff, personal, and we have a Facebook page, and then my own personal stuff, I have a Facebook page called Next Horizon. That is the name of my company, NXT Horizon Group. Well, yes, Peter, you're on screen now. Is that the right time?
There will most likely be 2 sections this coming semester because we have to split the face-to-face labs with a maximum of 9 students due to COVID. So you will probably have 2 sections. We'll figure out when those 2 are, but it's up to you.
Oh, okay. Well, fortunately, I learned how to teach online over the past 2 months. Yes, amen to that. Okay, I'm glad to do so. Anyway, and I'm working on a book out there, so it'll be out one of these days. But that is how I do it. And can you take classes virtually? It looks like we are going to have that available. We'll have to ask Peter, he's the boss, but it looks like we might do that.
And then Mark asked, is somebody doing this as a business? I know you are.
Yes. Well, I focus on backyards, okay, because we need that. No, we are a city that has we are blessed. Los Angeles and Las Vegas and San Diego, and these cities are all blessed with backyards that people can activate, so that we can again throw this from the backyard, food from the backyard directly to the kitchen table. But there is also the opportunity for commercial scale. And Mr. Mark Ryan, who's online right now, if you want to unmute your mic, Mark, and say a hi, has done commercials. They're not easy to do, but the technology is improving, and every semester Mark gives us a lecture. And he didn't get to do it this year, but every semester Mark gives us a lecture that you can knock the students' socks off. So a shout out to Mark Ryan. So
he's spoken for the Green Chamber. He's amazing.
Yes, he did.
Thank you, George, for the introduction. As always, the commercial aquaponics world is it's a difficult world. It still needs some work to make it profitable. And as you well know, I found that when you're growing commodity crops, the raising of the fish with the marketplace and also the vegetables is pretty expensive. There still is that chasm that has to be crossed. I would love to get started with it again. I actually have 2 commercial systems here at my farm right now, but they have not been set up since I moved due to financial issues. But I know there's a market there. I know there's something there that we can make it work. And I love your approach on the backyard idea or small farms. Going across our great city, we need to approach this on a smaller scale instead of a larger scale. Going neighborhood by neighborhood, having one small farm in each neighborhood, sharing the food with the neighbors locally. I don't see it as especially in a pandemic situation when we have a breakdown in these systems, we should be neighborly enough to be able to feed our neighbors. I know my little farm out here in Santan Valley could easily handle 30 families for a year without any issues. So the structure of our food system needs a lot of repair, and I'm really excited to be a part of all of this.
Thank you, Mark. Now, what Mark was talking about trying to end this, unless there were questions, there's this economic concept that basically says when a new technology comes on, it comes on in certain stages until it gets to this point where there's a big gap that you can fall into and get lost. You got to jump this chasm into the mainstream. And thanks to, I think, the city of Phoenix that has included aquaponics in the food plan, I think that we just jumped the chasm. And now it's just a matter of how do we, as Mark suggested, how do we provide our food for a city like Phoenix? And Mark's suggestion, neighborhood by neighborhood, is very interesting. So are there any more questions?
I do not see any more questions in the chat. So next week we have sustainability. And by the way, I want to say thank you all for all the speakers for today. I really, really appreciate you all attending. Sorry you can't see all of my gratitude in my face. I turned my camera off to appreciate the bandwidth issues that we've been having. But thank you all so much for attending. We are about 18 minutes over what we intended, but all great content, all great questions. Again, this will be on our YouTube channel, so follow us on our YouTube channel, Arizona Green Chamber. And our next week's speaker is Ashley from Greenlight. So she'll be discussing sustainability. So register for that if you're interested in that. And we have other events that are coming along over the next 6 weeks, and super excited, as well as thank you so much to our sponsors, Boss Properties and PEP Solar. Thank you guys, and have a great day. And hopefully all you guys are enjoying all your beverages while you are there off camera. Thank you and have a great day.